So today on Behind the Court podcast, we're talking to the coach who led McKendree men's tennis team to their highest national ranking in program history. My name is Karina, and our guest today is Chance Joost. Thank you so much for joining today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on here.
Perfect. So first, I would like to talk about your background. And you've had success at multiple levels of college tennis. I know that you've coached NAIA school in the past. You know, you were named Coach of the Year as well while contributing to that school. If you had to write a book about your coaching journey so far, what would the title be and why?
Um, it would probably be Second Serve, would be the title.
Interesting.
And I would say because I never achieved my full potential as a player. I was always kind of told how talented I was and never really felt like I achieved really what anybody had expected. So I feel like as a coach, I've really kind of channeled that into coaching and taking care of players and really feel like I've already surpassed kind of what I expected to do as a coach. So yeah, I think that's pretty good title, Second Serve.
That sounds interesting, and I like what perspective you're putting on it. So I know that you played for Washburn University, and then you also worked there as an assistant coach. Is it correct?
Yep.
How do you think this experience helped you to build up maybe your coaching philosophy right now, or shape you as a coach?
Yeah, I loved my time at Washburn. Um, there's not, I don't know any players that don't like it there. It's not really helping my school, but I loved it there. My coach, um, Dave Alden, was a great human being. He is a great human being. Um, his wife passed away my sophomore year of
Mhm.
college at the same time that my dad got diagnosed with cancer.
Oh wow.
Um, and his wife passed away from cancer. So we actually spent a lot of time just talking on the court during practice and not actually practicing, which at the time was what I needed.
Hmm.
Um, and he was just like a great friend. He was always a great friend. He still is. We still talk multiple times a year. We play fantasy football together. So, that really shaped me as that was the first time as a player where I was like, oh, maybe I want to be a coach because all I want to do is have a positive impact. I also took my faith on seriously during college during that same kind of year. So it really hit me where I was like, yeah, I just want to make positive impact, and this is one way. I know a lot about tennis. I've played since I was 2, so this is a great way. Then I GA'd under a different coach at Washburn. Um, had some good experiences, some bad ones. So I really kind of learned some things where I was like, I want to do this, but I don't want to do that. Like I took things from both coaches that I really liked and didn't like, and um, I also learned that you can be successful and not every single player is going to like you or like what you do.
Hmm.
And for me, I'm very empathetic as a human being, so it's very hard for me when people don't like what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Um, so I really kind of had to learn that, but that I took that from my experiences at Washburn when I was like, there's times where I didn't enjoy it or didn't think it was the right thing, but I still found ways to benefit from it.
Hmm. Did you saw that they recently made it to finals of nationals?
Yeah, so actually, this was my first year at McKendree, and I was at William Woods before at the
Hmm.
NAIA, and we got to the quarterfinals. Um, so I have two of my two top players at William Woods transferred to Washburn.
Oh
So
wow.
uh, yeah, Vashik Schneider played number 2 for Washburn, and Zanovi Nahirniak from Ukraine played number 5 for them. Um, they both played 3 years for me They're both great human beings. I actually just saw them before they went home yesterday, actually. Um, but yeah, so I kept up with him the whole time. And then I actually had another player who transferred to Lubbock Christian when I left William Woods, and he was playing number 4 for Lubbock Christian in the other semifinal. So
Mhm.
I was trying to keep up with everything, all my former players, because we're all still super close. They all called me multiple times throughout the year, and all the other players that didn't go to other schools are actually playing for me at McKendree now. So
Mhm.
it's pretty cool. But yeah,
That's
I followed that. It was a little bit hard because I was like, I know those kids, I know those, how successful they are, and I'm a little jealous, but we'll get there. We'll get there ourselves.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's awesome that you still stay in touch with them, even though they're kind of like competitors
Yeah.
for your school, same division. So, but that's great that you're trying to keep being in contact. So, have you ever had a failure, maybe early in your coaching career that really impacted or maybe changed your view on certain things related to coaching?
Um, I would say one thing that really impacted me was my first head coaching job was at Heston College, which was a private 2-year college. They just announced they're going to NAIA. But my athletic director there, Rob Ramsire, who's now at Friends University, one of the best human beings I've ever met. And um, I got in there, and first 2 months, I had, I think, 3 guys threatening to quit because they didn't like me. And um, he was like, "Well, if I hired you and every single kid liked what you were doing, I'd be concerned
Hmm.
because it means you're not taking the program to any new level. Like you're not doing anything different." Um, so that was one thing where I felt like it was a failure because I wasn't winning the hearts and minds of everybody. But the athletic director really kind of steered me in the right way, and it was like, you can still be loving and treat them correctly, but it is your way. So as long as it's within the rules, obviously. But I'd say that, and then yeah, I think that's the biggest one. And then during COVID, I had some tough times at William Woods, just trying to learn um, some kind of rules aspect of things, just with COVID, where those rules aren't there anymore. But like, um, just to kind of really pay attention to all those type of, even if I didn't agree with them, I still needed to just be a professional. But that was my 26-year-old self that was a little bit arrogant there. So
But I mean, hey, right now you're experienced, more experienced that you were. So that's great that you can learn from situations like this and improve yourself in terms of coaching skills. So I know that you've coached, William Woods in AA school, McKendree right now, Division II school. And I feel like a lot of people who are looking for colleges, they might not be educated enough on this difference between leagues and divisions. So personally for you, what is similar and different comparing NIA and NCAA Division II schools?
yeah, I would say NAIA, the top level might be better.
Hmm.
Like the top teams are probably better than the top teams in D2.
Interesting.
Um, D2 is way more intense.
Mm-hmm.
There is no easy match. Like I can think of, we played a team Power 6 68, lost 4-3. We played a team Power 6 58, won 4-3.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a huge difference. And we've had the same lineup for both matches. So um, the intensity is just, it is really different in D2.
Mm-hmm.
Um, NAIA, you have less rules as far as practice times and things like that. So the coach has a little bit more freedom to maybe do more development if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
But even when I was at William Woods as a player playing D2, I always liked the 20-hour rule, so I stuck to that pretty closely.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think NAIA is a great experience, and it's a great place to grow. I do think NCAA D2 is just has a little bit. I mean, there's more resources, so
Mm-hmm.
it just feels a little bit more professional at times. The intensity is just a little bit more, and that's great for some players. Other players, NAIA is 100% the way to go. And it could be the same talent. It could have two girls who are 8 UTRs, and one might need to go D2, and one might need to go NAIA.
Mm-hmm.
I think NAIA's focus on servant leadership and like just the values of NAIA athletics is really great,
Mm-hmm.
and how much it's talked about is phenomenal. That's not something I've heard as much in D2, but then in D2, it's about getting better and winning and doing the right thing while doing so. So I just feel like it's just like another step up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think NAIA, when I got to William Woods, was way better than what I expected it to be. Um, and the level's incredible. Some of those top teams are ridiculous. Um, it's just you might have 10 teams in NAIA at the top level, and in D2 it's probably 35.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the biggest difference.
That's a good point because I think, yeah, there is this bias that NAIA is not strong tennis wise, but I think I agree with you, especially following the results of some of these NAIA teams. They are still able to bring high level of competitiveness for Division II schools. And in Division II, yes, we get rankings of what top 50 teams, well, top 25 in the beginning, and then top 50. But even those teams who are a little bit outside of the ranking, they're still pretty strong, and you
Yeah.
cannot expect to win 7-0 every single
No.
time you play.
No. So and that's the Vashik Schneider played for me at William Woods, and he was the number one player in the country in NAIA. And then he's playing D2 at Washburn, and he's right now number 5. And he
Hmm.
just beat the number 2 player in the country, during nationals. So like it's the same there. The difference, I definitely think, when I was at William Woods, if we played, we got as high as number 3 in the country, but if we played number 15 or 20 in the country, I expected to win 7-0.
Hmm.
And at McKendree, it's like, well, we played a team that was, supposed to be on paper way worse than us. And I walked out there, I was like, wow, these
Hmm.
guys and girls are the same. It's just maybe one team's been beaten up a little bit more than the other. So it looks on paper a little bit worse, but yeah, it's different.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay, we'll move more towards your team and program. So whenever your players face tough matches, you said that you had some of the game days whenever your team would drop 4-3 or win 4-3. When they feel tight or nervous or maybe anxious, how do you try to support them?
Yeah, we lost 10 matches 4-3, or would have been 4-3 on the men's side this year, and I
Hmm.
think we lost another 4 or 5 on the women's side. So that was really hard. So maybe I didn't do it really well, but I think for me, it's communicating with them and finding that common ground to where they can feel comfortable communicating with me. Like, I like to sit down in those moments and say, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? What's going on upstairs? Like, what's going on in your head? So that then I know, if it's a coach, and their mind's racing all over the place, and it's like, okay, maybe I need to tell them a joke in this moment to relax them and just get their mind off tennis. If they're like, oh, coach, I tried XYZ, it didn't work, then I'm like, okay, then I need to give them a strategy piece, maybe a pattern that I notice isn't working or is working, that maybe they're not utilizing. Or sometimes in those moments, I was like, hey, you're hitting every ball to the girl's forehand. That's her better shot. Let's switch that. And then I ended up working, a few times. But I really just try to have that personal connection to where they feel like they can talk to me in those moments and take a deep breath. And, I can give them what's going to benefit them the most. At least that's what my desire and my intention is. I try to take the pressure off of them. A lot of times, second serves, if they're returning, I'm telling them what to do, where to go. So kind of my thought process, even when I was a player, was if the coach just told me, and I could just focus on executing. Like I didn't have to think about what I'm doing. So, yeah, that's mostly what I try to do, and get them, or I'll tell them some breathing exercises to try to get them, or maybe like move your arms, wave them around, be crazy, things like that, or focus on your teammates, chant with your teammates, stuff like that. Just kind of get the nerves out.
I think these are some of the good advices, honestly. I don't know, you said maybe it's not working, but I think in general, that's a good way how you can distract from this stress that you're facing whenever you struggle during the matches. So, yeah, I think it's definitely something that can be helpful on different levels, no matter which division, which league you're playing.
Right.
Maybe you're still playing ITF tournaments or just like weekend amateur competitions. I think that's something that can definitely benefit a lot of people. So let's move to your practices. How do they look like? Maybe you can share some of your favorite drills that you like to implement.
Yeah, so practices with me, this last year was kind of a hodgepodge. I think I could have done better with practices this last year, but most of the time we start out in the fall. It's a lot of ball feeding, a lot of focus on consistency, like 100 balls in a row, and then move on to 100 balls in a row past the service line. Each directional hitting 100 in a row, and then like it might be, hey, you guys are going to hit 100 balls total, and I want you guys to rip the cover off the ball. Like hit the ball as hard as you can, and as soon as you make 100, we'll move on. But those are some of my favorites. Or maybe it's after that, then team practices are largely point play. I think you guys are all good enough. You guys just need to work on strategy most of the time. And then we have individuals where we focus on ball feeding and things like that. But team practices are largely point play. It might be starting your service game down low 30. I like doing this thing where everybody's playing sets, and then I just yell out deuce point, and then every court goes to deuce point no matter where you are in the game. So you could be up 40-15, and all of a sudden it's deuce point. Players usually don't like that drill at first because they're all so competitive, but when you're in March and you're playing a deuce point, you're like, oh, whatever. Well, it's not that big of a deal. So I really like that. Or we play a drill where you have to hit 2 inside-out forehands in a row, and then the third one's an inside-in forehand, and then the points open after that. You play the best 2 out of 3 points, and the winner gets to choose what the loser does as a consequence. And I'll give you one more. Our warm-up drill a lot of times is short court, straight ahead, just in the boxes, and you play best 2 out of 3 points. Winner gets to choose what the loser does, and then you move up and down the courts. So just kind of really working on getting our minds competitive from the get-go, even while we're warming up. And I actually stole that from a sports psychologist when I went to the ITA coaches convention in 2019 or 2020. So that's been really, really helpful. I've noticed that our players don't start as slow.
Interesting. Yeah. I think I've also done some of these exercises, and they definitely I've never heard of the one that you said with random dues.
Yeah.
But hey, college tennis, due score happens all the time, and that's the moment when you get the most pressured, the most nervous, because hey, it's you either win or lose the game. So, and I've had so many matches in my experience when I'm thinking, gosh, I could have won this match 6-0, 6-0 if I didn't have dues every
Right.
single game. So that's a great way how to prepare your players. And you said that you like to do that. The winners get to choose what the losing players will do. What are some of the common things that they choose?
I'd say most of the time I do tell them, like, you guys can't be ridiculous, because conditioning with me is awful. Like, I'll be honest, like I am pretty hardcore on conditioning. But so I'm like, I get to all that stuff I get to do. But most of the time it's like 10 burpees or 10 jumping jacks, or I tell them to be creative and have fun most of the time. So sometimes it's like 5 kangaroo hops, a jumping jack, and 3 sit-ups or something like that, where just kind of making them do a bunch of different stuff. So when we're really feeling spicy, it's going to be like 2 laps with a racket above your head. But that's usually when someone's feeling a little spicy. So
That's so fun. You mentioned that during practices you like to focus on point play, right? So whenever it comes to deciding lineups for singles and doubles, is it based just on results during practices, or what's your approach to decide your lineups and maybe doubles teams as well?
double teams, and the players have to like each other. So I rely a lot on my team captains to kind of keep me informed on friendships on the team, like what team chemistry is like between guys or girls. And then it's usually like whose game complements each other. You know, if somebody's got a good forehand, another guy's got a bad backhand, and or they have the same good stroke or something. I don't know. It's just like I do a lot of it on gut feeling for doubles, and like what players want to play with each other. Because if you want to play with someone, then you're going to work really hard to make it happen, and to be successful. So a lot of times it's me working with them on, hey, who do you want to play? Hey, after they play a set together, I'm like, hey, what'd you think? I asked both players separately, what'd you think of that? And then just kind of go off of their responses, and then what I see that's working and not working. I don't go off of results in practice very often. They do matter a little bit, but for me, I could not compete against my teammates. I couldn't do it. Like, it was so hard. I just couldn't be I was a jerk when I played, and I could not do that to my teammates. So they would probably say otherwise. But I think for me, what goes into deciding the lineup is, are you coachable? So are you listening to the coaches during practice? Are you trying new things? And do you not care about the score during practice? Because I want my number one player to lose, during practice, because he needs to problem solve, and he or she needs to problem solve and learn. And the best players that have played for me are the players that have taken that as gospel truth and gone out and not cared about the score while they played and just worked on things. There's obviously days where Vashik or Lena would lose to somebody that's like the 6th best player on the team, and everybody would be like, oh my gosh. And I was like, well, he made himself hit backhands the whole time, or she worked on hitting high heavies the whole time, and that's not her game. So, for me, I really recognize those things. Like, okay, well, when that player's having a bad day, I'm going to be able to communicate with them and help them out. And then it's also like, are you a good teammate? Like, are you chanting during practice? Are you lifting others up? Are you caring about others? The least selfish people on my team are the ones who get the most opportunities, no matter how good you are. So if you're really, really good and you're selfish, it's hard for you to find playing time with me. But if you're a team player and you're doing all the right things, you're doing the right things in the classroom, then like I'll get you opportunities, even if that's just being a part of the traveling team or something like that. I'll find ways and I'll coach you like my life depends on it during practice. So it's those players. It's a mutual thing, So if I can find connections with players, that's usually what happens. And obviously talent. Like if you're one of the better players and you obviously have earned that right to be in the top 6. You just have to be a team player at the same time.
That's a great point, especially because college tennis is a unique experience where you get to play as a team. So I'm glad that you brought up like the team player point, because yes, we still do compete individually, but we're playing to contribute to the same goal as at least 5 other people. So that's so true.
Yep.
And before we will start talking about one of the aspects of recruiting process, is there anything else that you would like to share about yourself, about your team, about the program in general?
We like to have fun. I love teasing. So I grew up with a brother who's 5 years older than me. He played tennis at the University of Arkansas and then transferred to Washington too. He's still a director at a tennis club now. So I'm used to that competitive environment where you're just trash talking but in a lighthearted, fun way. So we like to have fun. We have music at practice. Everything's earned. Nothing's given. I try to treat the players as good as possible because I remember I'm not too old. I still remember what that was like. I think for me, I think it helps my players that I still get out and hit with them. I'll beat a couple of guys in sets or lose to a couple of the top guys, close. And I think that earns some respect. But we like to have fun and we're a family. So even this last year, I think we struggled to get my culture down, sunk in. And at the end of the year, I think we really got it. And all the guys are like, all right, coach, like I get it. Like, and when I say guys, I mean guys and girls. But, they were like, we get it. We understand this is more fun, so we all move in one direction and it's all about the team first. And I think that individually ends up helping everybody.
That's awesome. Yeah, and building family is probably one of the crucial parts about team culture, especially you have international players who come from overseas, and you're probably the only person who they know, who they talk to a couple times on the phone. So that's nice to hear that you're trying to build this family-like atmosphere on your team.
Yeah, that's the most important thing to me. And we have 15 different countries represented between the two teams. So we really have to be home away from home for everyone.
That's awesome. Well, right now we will move more towards recruiting process, and specifically we will talk about some of the questions that players should ask those who want to start their journey in college tennis. So for the first one, I have, what questions do smart recruits ask you?
Smart recruits will ask me, I think one of the best questions I was asked was like, how do you deal with a player who, doesn't meet expectations, whether it's in the classroom or on the court, or like attitude expectations. So that was a really good question I had been asked. I think recruits need to ask more like, penetrating questions about the coach's personality. Like what really drives you as a coach? Why are you a coach? What, is this just a paycheck to you, or do you just want to win? What's really the goal? What's the driving factor that makes you go to work every day? I've had some players ask me that, and I really enjoyed those questions. Players also asking, like, if I don't perform, like if you put me in the lineup and I don't perform, how do you react? Like, what do you do? I immediately get out of the lineup? What's kind of the tactics there in your head as a coach? And that's a good question. And then I think I think those are pretty much mostly the really good ones. But yeah, I don't think players ask enough questions about the coach, because at least for me, I feel like when I'm on recruiting calls, I can tell like if you're a pretty decent person or not on the phone call. If you ask me about scholarship money the first second of the phone call, and it's probably not a good sign. Because obviously that's on my mind. Like obviously we're going to get to that. But I think the players, in my opinion, the players go to the school for the coach. Because at the end of the day, you guys all get the same white piece of paper that says you're smart enough to graduate. So, is going to McKendree or Washburn that big of a difference academically? No. So you're gonna have to. I'm just using them as an example, but if you're gonna go to a school, then it really needs to be about your relationship with the coach, and also what are your goals. Is your goal to just be the best tennis player possible, regardless of what that means that you do, or are you like, yeah, I want to focus on my personality and grow this and grow that? So I think just asking some more penetrating questions about the coach, I think, is something that recruits don't do often enough in the recruiting process.
I would say I agree with you, because I had some people ask me for advice, like, oh, what should I talk about with coaches? And it's so hard to explain that you have to build up certain communication and connection with the coach first, because I don't want to talk to someone and their first question is, so how much money I'm gonna get? Obviously everybody wants to know it, but what if you have two schools with the exact same amount of scholarship? They have pretty much the same characteristics. How are you gonna choose which school you would like to get into? So I agree with you about yeah.
And I think also, like if your budget's, let's say 5K, and you have one coach who's offering you 5K, and another coach is like, well, we can get you down to 2. Like, okay, yes, the grand scheme of things, especially like certain countries with the exchange rate, that is a huge amount of money. But, what if the coach at the 2K school treats you horribly, and you end up transferring a year later, your UTR goes down, so then you can't find a school that's even going to give you 5K, and in the end, you're spending more money than if you would have just gone to maybe the coach that treated you better, and maybe pay a little bit more for the right person in the beginning, and then that's going to click, and then your scholarship can be improved later on as you improve as a player.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think I asked the same questions one of the other coaches who I had as a guest here, and they also said the same thing, that they wish players asked more about coach's background. As you said, what drives them to be in a coach, what drives them about tennis in general, competition, college tennis specifically. So it's just interesting to me that you're like second person who I ask this question and second person who says the exact same thing, which indicates that it's really a problem for, in communication, building this connection between coach and player before, making a decision where to go. Okay, so for our last part, we're gonna play a game called If Tennis Was. So I'm going to throw some if tennis was prompts your way, and you just have to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind.
All right.
Okay, so if tennis was a movie genre, it would be.
Action.
If coaching was a food, it would taste like.
Ooh. Uh, ice cream cake.
Interesting choice. If your team was a brand of car, it would be.
Mm, well, I'm gonna have to say a a nice big truck like I drive.
Why is big track?
Fast, strong, and can do a lot of things.
Okay, interesting perspective. If recruiting process or like for you recruit other players was a song, it would sound like.
Oh my, that's a good one. Probably a hip hop song.
Okay. If a tennis match was a drink, it would be.
Mm, probably a very strong alcoholic drink.
That's something what I was thinking about too whenever
Yeah.
I tried to make these questions. Okay, we have last two. If a training session or practice was a type of dance, it would be.
A two step.
Okay, and for the last one, if the game day feeling was an animal, it would be
A lion.
lion. That's a good choice.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I had for today. Thank you so much for your time, Jordan. You had great answers. Some of them, I agree about game day feeling or tennis match. If tennis match was a drink, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really appreciate. I hope you had some fun playing and answering questions. Yeah, thank you so much for reacting to my post on Facebook and showing the initiative that you would like to participate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate you reaching out and having the um, you know, desire to do something like this. Is pretty cool. And I got to read about everything that you've done through community service and back home, and I think you're a phenomenal ambassador to college tennis and kind of represent what it's all about. So, really appreciate you doing this and appreciate your career as a tennis player. And I hope you just continue to build on that and continue to gain confidence.
Thank you so much. These are really sweet and nice words. I genuinely appreciate your saying it.
Absolutely.
And for all of the listeners, I will leave a bunch of different links below this video for school website, for tennis programs, as well as social media links. So if you're interested, if you would like to learn more about it, you have an access to sources right below this video. And I'll see you in the next episode. Yay!